I think it's amazing when women are supporting other women in this industry, because it's just so important. And I think with my work, I love to tell female-centered stories. It's what I'm most passionate about, and it's what I think we need representation for in the industry, and diverse, unique depictions that are authentic and not over sensationalized and over dramatized in a way that doesn't feel real. And also, I like to tell these stories made by a team of women and diverse filmmakers, and that's what I'm doing with that's what I did with Growing Pains. That's what I'm doing with this TV pilot I'm working on and making independently, and just all my work. I think that's something that's really, really great too, when you see other diverse and female filmmakers uplifting each other and creating community, because as you know too, like, these opportunities are far and few in between, unfortunately, or like, I don't know, just from other people who really want to uplift diverse communities. I think it's important.
We are the
Get Reelisms Podcast.
I am Adam Chase Rennie.
And I am Christine Chen. And surprise, we're both filmmakers.
We get into it by sharing secrets, advice, and gossip in filmmaking.
And we even get our other filmmaking friends to share theirs too.
So please, everybody, join us for
an ode to filmmaking.
I'm ready to go.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen.
Hey, Adam.
Go ahead, Christine.
I said go.
Oh, my God. Okay. Gentlemen, welcome to Get Reelisms Live, episode 144. My name is Adam Chase Rennie.
And I am Christine Chen, and I'm so excited because today we have a special guest. I'm going to let her introduce herself. Cat?
Hi, my name is Cat Argyrople. I'm a filmmaker. I'm a director and writer based in Los Angeles, and I like to do features. That's my medium.
Awesome. So here at the Get Reelisms Podcast, we love making filmmaking accessible to all, because we know how hard it is already to raise your money, to make your film. And so hopefully by listening to our podcast, you'll be able to find some inspiration to make your own films, or to maybe ask some people who've done it and see their trials and tribulations. So tell us, Kat, how did you even get started in this crazy ass industry called film?
I also love your attitude. It's very candid, and I appreciate that, because I'm a very candid, blunt person as well. Yeah, so that's a great question. I am originally from Boston. I'm born and raised in the Boston area, and I went to university at Northeastern, and I studied media and screen studies and entrepreneurship. So essentially more film theory, and I took a bunch of production classes, but Northeastern isn't typically known as a film school. So that program was in the overall communications department, and I had been doing photo video work honestly my whole teen and adult life. I started a business where I did a lot of portraiture and event photo and videos, and that's how I funded a gap year right out of high school, and that's how I funded a lot of travel in college, and ultimately just started my interest professionally, and it allowed me to kind of refine my craft. And my background was much more photography and like videography, not so much directing or formal filmmaking, I would say, until college. And then I just started working on some cool projects. Like I would be a production assistant or do behind the scenes work on short films. And then I did some work on live events. And what really got me started formally is Northeastern has a co-op program, and I did my first co-op, which is essentially like a 6-month internship where you work full-time at any company you want all over the world. And I did my first co-op at this really great tech company, VMware, that was previously owned by Dell. And I was a video producer, and it was just super cool because I, just got a lot of hands-on producing experience and got to direct and work with clients. And it was just such an amazing company and culture and the people, and just showed me, oh, I'm really good at this and I like this and this can be a profession. And that was more a corporate and commercial setting. And then what really inspired me to pursue writing and pursue narrative work was after that semester, I went back to university and I took a screenwriting course in college by one of my favorite professors, Ellen Fontana. She's amazing and just a great mentor to me. And that was so inspiring because I started, formally writing and diving into narrative work. And I was like, oh my gosh, I love this. It's so much fun. And I am good at it. And, it's funny because I firmly believe that the things that you liked as kids just kind of come up time and time again. And whether you listen to that passion and dream or, skill set and continue to nurture it over your life is your choice. But for me as a child, like very young, I, would always write in journals, and I write to this day every day, but I had a dream of like writing a novel, and I started writing a novel when I was probably like 8 years old, and truthfully I don't even remember what it was about, but I put that dream away, and I think this is a bit of a different kind of discussion, but I think like being from Massachusetts and being from a family, an area that isn't very artist centered, being in a creative field can often feel like a pipe dream or something that isn't seen as feasible and isn't really encouraged. And I'm grateful for my family and friends for encouraging me, because so many people give up their dreams because it's not like New York and it's not like LA where the industry is here and it's typical to do that. So basically I, really refound my passion for writing in college, and then just was like, oh, I think I want to do this. And I got the experience to direct and DP a few short films, including a 40-minute comedy film for this really cool production company, Made in Mass. And that showed me I can really direct, because before I felt like I didn't have the self-confidence, honestly, and self-belief to identify as a director and really want to direct, because I was like, oh, I'll just be behind the camera, my background is photo, video, I'm good at DP work, and that's what I thought I wanted to do. Until I was like, no, this is cool to have more of a vision and, also be a part of the story and work with the actors. That was super fun for me. And I just really had a desire to start writing and directing my own work. But I realized no one would give me that opportunity, just like right out of the gate. I was still in college at Northeastern, and I was like, I feel like I have to just make my own work to tell a story that I'm really passionate about and that just feels meaningful and feels like a debut, because I had done short films before, but they were also like very much like no budget, like me and one other friend filming our other friends. It wasn't, a formal set environment where you have like a gaffer and people helping you, like production assistants, or even formal crafty. Like it was very like run and gun, us filming at our house or us filming at school. So while they were great hands-on experiences to learn, I wouldn't say it was a typical set environment, and didn't give me the background of like, oh, I know what a 10-1 is, or you know what I mean, stuff like that. So until I started, pursuing other projects and bigger projects, and ultimately Growing Pains, which is my first feature. And so long story short, I was in my final semester of college, and I was kind of at a crossroads in life where I really thought I was going to get my MFA, and I thought I was going to get my MFA in potentially cinematography. And, I was like, I feel like this calling for writing and directing is something I really have to give a shot and really see, is this what I'm meant to do? And is this what I want to pursue? And I didn't really know if doing a more traditional path by going to film school was right for me. And so basically I just started writing a feature film, and I found a great writing partner, Mariana Fabian, and committed to the work that I was going to graduate college work for myself, form a production company, and make a feature film. And that's what I've been doing. And I'm really grateful to say that we're having our world premiere at a big film festival back at home, Boston International Film Festival. So we're finally getting the film out in the world, and I'm finally going to be able to share it, with my friends, family, cast, and crew, the people who supported us and helped us make this movie. And it's just very full circle and special also that it's at home, where we made the movie.
I think what I gravitated the most to is first that you're an entrepreneur. I think I also am an entrepreneur, and I think that that's a spirit that I think making films in itself is, you're starting little mini businesses, like, and so with every single piece of art that you make is a business. You have to find the funding for that. You got to build the team. You got to make it, and it's a final product. So I find that there should be more filmmakers that pursue something with entrepreneurship. I also went to a school that didn't really have a film program as well, and so I kind of hobbled together something that kind of resembled film, and then entrepreneurship was definitely something that I was into. And I think it is that mindset that you really need to get shit done in this industry as a woman, especially because, like you said, there's few and far between opportunities for people that look like us, unfortunately. But I mean, I think about it, and I think sometimes it's also fortunately because of that we have had to do everything ourselves, and because of that we are better directors, in my opinion, because we know how to do everything, because we've shot our friends, we've edited our own stuff, we've gotten together the resources to make our own stuff, so nothing has ever been handed to us, and because of that we know every aspect. We are multi-tools in this industry, and I think that is what makes us great directors, in my opinion. And so I love your story, because I think a lot of people think that, I have to have formal training, and we get that imposter syndrome a little bit when you don't. And you were saying, my first sets were like not really sets. Hey, same. It was I think at best it was like SNL, like a little mini. It was like that was when YouTube was like started to be a hit, to be a thing, and that was pretty much it. It was these little sketch comedies that I would just grab some people and be like, hey, I want to shoot something. Can you be my actor? And then you can also hold the boom, and then sometimes you might have to mess with the camera too,
Yeah, but that's the best way to get started, and the best way to have work, and making things with your friends, making things with your community, and, people who you're in school with, or just collaborators. That is just such a good way to have a small body of work and then be able to branch out to like more ambitious projects. And I have to say, guys, like my feature, I'm not kidding. So many people told me not to do a feature. Like, so many people really were like, oh, you're making a feature? Like, that's really like quite an ambitious thing. Are you sure about this? Like, actually, when I was in college, I was in my final semester of Northeastern, and that's when I started writing the film with Mari. And basically I, in the spring, graduated and was looking for a team to build, because it was just Mari and I, we were just two of us. And I, had some money that I was using for film school to, be able to make the film. And I'm really grateful for that, because otherwise, like, the film would have not gotten made, because that was the base of our funding. But I was looking for people to join the team. And so I was looking for a really good, trustworthy producer, and I had never worked with a formal producer before. So I went out to my network, and I had asked a big mentor of mine who I had worked with many times in the past, and I said, hey, I'm making this feature film. It's inspired by my experience as a childhood cancer survivor, and I'm looking for a producer on the project, and I think you would be great, and here's the logline, here's the concept, are you interested? And they, they were very nice about it and professional. And it's funny because I reread that message like a few weeks ago, and I'm like, it wasn't harsh, but it could have deterred someone who was on the fence, or it could have deterred someone who's not quite like a pit bull about their dreams like I am. And I feel like my background as a survivor, like I'm so resilient, and I really feel like it's given me the kind of chutzpah to follow my dreams, because I know life is short and not every day is guaranteed. So I'm really driven in that way. But they said, I don't think your logline is solid. I think you should rework it. Basically, we had reworked loglines in the past, and like, I don't think you have a great idea. And I suggest you make something on a smaller scale, like maybe make a scene or make a short, and then see how it goes. And I, took it with a grain of salt and was like, I appreciate your feedback. I'm, pretty set on making the feature, so that's what I'm going to do. And I essentially went over, still to my network, connecting with people, and I found a great associate producer, Michelle Carr, who was my former professor at Northeastern, and it was just so great because she really believed in me. She believed in the script. She read it and, resonated, and it was so just nice too, because she had worked with me when I was her student, and I feel like I was a young, frazzled, studio production student who was directing a live show for the first time, and then I a few years later went on to start this big ambitious feature. And so she knew me from the very beginning of my film career, and there was a lot of transformation in those few years, and to know that she believed in me was really special. And also to get that confirmation. And I think the film is very much a female-centered story. Basically, it's a coming-of-age drama about two best friends drifting apart in the summer before high school. And like I said before, it's inspired by my experience as a childhood cancer survivor. So it's real and raw, and about discovering your identity and drifting apart from friends, and just really finding yourself, and also struggling with your mental health. And it's also inspired by my writing partner's experience coming out as a lesbian in a Hispanic household, and Mari is from the South, so it's a completely different cultural dynamic in the South to come out and be queer. And so she was really drawing on that personal experience. And while everything is fictionalized, it's very personal and very vulnerable to both of us. So to have, a team of women who believed in the film was special to me, to get that representation. And, I always say I didn't make this movie for men. And whenever men resonate with it, it's really special to me, because I'm like, you're an ally. Like, you see what I'm doing, and you understand. And there's so many trailblazers like Greta Gerwig or Gina Prince Bythewood who are making these female-centered stories, and I really appreciate when male filmmakers or just allies are like supporting them, because we need more of that,
I agree. Yeah, it's just, same with my film Ursula. It was the same thing. I was like, I didn't make it for you guys. I made it for the women. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. And so it is fun when there are people who do support it that are not the target demographic. But then it is also funny when the non-target demographic is like, I don't get it. Well, you're so mean to men. I'm like, dude, I'm making this for my ladies. It's not everything is about you. For once, that's why you're so confused. Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's awesome. How long did would you say the conception of the script take? And then how long were the rewrites? And when was it when you started the fundraising process?
Yeah, great question. And it's so funny because especially when you're a first-time writer, but I think when you're a writer maybe in general, you're like, this is the final version. And it's never the final.
No.
It's never the final version.
I'm working on my final version, which is the final 8th version.
Yeah.
Yeah. Something.
Yeah, no, it's never the final version. Writing is always rewriting, but it's so much fun and it's so creative. And I think the writing and the directing are equally playful in completely unique ways. So to me, even though it's the hardest work I've ever done in my life, particularly the producing. It is such a joy to be doing this, and it's what I'm meant to be doing and my true calling, what I found through this process. So I'm just so grateful for it, and I've learned so much. But we started writing in September 2021, and the way I found Mari too is just like a really divine universe moment that I can talk about later. But we started writing in 2021 in September, and then we basically were writing really remotely. Mari is based in North Carolina. I was based in Massachusetts. So we would meet over Zoom every week or every other week, and we would just kind of talk about our experiences. And I knew I wanted to write a story about two best friends, but I wanted them to have really unique life experiences. And because this was my first time writing a feature, I was like, I really want to collaborate with another writer. I love writing with other people, and I want someone who can bring a diverse, authentic point of view. And it didn't feel, at least for this film, it didn't feel right to write it solo. Like, it really didn't. And I knew I wanted to have someone's perspective that was completely different from mine, to be able to share something, authentic to just the background that teen girls experience, and how no experience of a young woman is the same, and you can be best friends and living in the same town, but going through completely different things and living in completely different households and etc. So I started really digging into the script in the beginning of 2022. So I probably had my first draft in March, and I always say it's great to have a deadline for something to get a draft out.
Yes.
Yeah.
Especially to get
Super
it.
Great.
You started.
Yes, I would say that is that would be also a big thing for people. Suggestion is set a deadline. Deadline. That's why I liked sending them to contests or like screenwriting things, because it forces you to adhere to a deadline.
Yeah.
It's not the contest itself. Yes, I'm competitive, so I love contests. But but for me, a lot of it is that deadline. It's being forced to finish something, because you're right. Like, you can write forever. It's
Totally.
never finished.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was the exact same thing that happened to me, and that was I wanted to apply to this great diversity screenwriting competition, and it was like, share us your stories, and if you get this award, you'll get funding and potentially distribution and managers. So it was a great opportunity, and I pushed really hard to get a good draft in for that early March. And spoiler, we didn't get it, but it was great, because I believe that applying to any sort of grant or competition, especially free ones like that are providing such a big, potentially life-changing opportunity, can get all your ducks in a row, get your script in a row, get your pitch materials, etc. And then even if you don't get it, it's like a win-win. Like, you have that final product, and you can move forward in a different way and kind of refocus. But basically, we were rewriting for a few months, maybe from March until beginning of June. And it was funny, I say the deadline thing, and you guys resonate with it so much, because one of my best friends and another filmmaker of mine, Donovan Griffin, he said to me, like, set a date for your first date of production. And I was really nervous about that, because this is the first time I was like producing. This is the first time I'm directing something big. This is the first time any project of mine that I was at the forefront of had funding. So I was a little nervous to be like, we're setting it in stone, even though I knew I wanted to shoot summer of 2022. I was like, that's when we're shooting. That's when it's happening. But it was a little nerve-wracking in the early spring to be like, it's day one. And like, especially when like I didn't have my DP lined up. I didn't have so many things lined up. But doing that and being like, no, we're shooting in August and September, and that's like your general timeline, that was super helpful. So great advice. And basically, I prepped all spring into the summer, and our first day was, I believe, August 8th or August 9th of 2021, and we shot for 21 days over the course of a month, and our last day was September 10th. So it was really nice. The last shoot day and the day before that we were working, we had like a week in between, which was unprecedented for us, and it was so nice. It was so nice to have that break, honestly, and it gave us all time to refresh and, you know, be ready to take on a really big final day, because we shot a concert scene. So it was completely different from anything else we had previously shot. And I have to say too, Growing Pains is a really ambitious first feature to make, because, you know, we shot over 9 locations. We were working with a lot of minors, a lot of kids, you know, as it's about teens. I was really big on the authentic casting and using that age range. So that was a consideration, with sensitive subject matter and around mental health and some, you know, sexual things that happen. So sensitivity to that, of course. But also we shot on the water. We shot a big concert scene. Like, there's, you know, a rowing storyline. So I had to like fill boats for a rowing team and like make sure my lead actors knew how to row. Like, it was just kind of wild. So we finished in September. And then I was so tired. And I was like, I remember going to sleep that day, September 10th, and being like, I did it. And it was so great.
Yeah.
But then I'm like, I need a break. So I took 2 months off. I didn't look at the footage. I didn't do anything. I didn't start to find my editor. I took 2 months off. I went to see my family. My mom relocated to Florida, so I went back to Florida, stayed with her. My dad and my half-sister and stepmom are over in London, so me and my sister Victoria, who's the rowing coach in the movie, we went to London. We just kind of chilled, and then I came back. I felt really refreshed. I felt really inspired, and I started finding an editor and basically I looked through every single piece of footage to be like, I like this, I don't like this, because, you know, when you have your scripty, you're like, I like this take, I think I like this take. It wasn't every single take I knew. And there were so many things also on my brain, because I also was a lead producer. I line produced. I, you know, was just coordinating so many things that I think it was really great to have just like a second fresh perspective on the footage after we had shot. And that was also advice from Donovan too. He was like, Kat, you got to watch every single piece of footage. And I know it might seem annoying, because, you know, this is 110 pages of a script, but like, you got to do it. And that was great advice. And so we began the edit in November of 2022, and then we officially wrapped last September, so September 2023. And you know, I brought on a composer in spring of last year. I brought on a sound designer. So I think the composing took probably the most time, because I was very clear on my vision. And I was, you know, I'm very clear. I'm a visionary in the sense that, like, I know the story I want to tell, and I'm also a musician. I love music. And so that was like one of the most important pieces for me when we were bringing the film to life, is like making the music feel authentic. And my composer, Joe Chris, just did such a great job. But, you know, we did spend months and months just trying to refine and make sure it was like authentic to the film, and something that we were both proud of. So I feel like we really did a great job. And then, so September, I started submitting to film festivals, you know, when the film was finished, and I submitted to probably like 2 or 3 with a fine cut before we really solidified, just because it was like Sundance. I'm like, I have to make it in the Sundance timeline. But I will say that's like not a good, I've learned it's not good to submit not your final film to anything. It's better to wait. Just wait. And, you know, spoiler, we didn't get into Sundance. But we did. It was a big honor, because we did get on this diversity spotlight that was presented by Nielsen that they showed at Sundance, which was super cool. So they didn't screen the film, but, you know, our film, Growing Pains, is listed in my production company next to Ava DuVernay's Origin, Dune, it lives inside, like really cool films and then a ton of indie films. So it was just such an honor to be a part of Sundance in some way that wasn't in the festival, and that was like a dream come true. So that was really cool. And so, you know, like I said, we started applying to film festivals September 2023. It was rejection after rejection after rejection. And, you know, I think a lot of filmmakers, especially independent ones, you know, it's like a daily rejection.
Yeah.
And also I applied to like 60 grants with the film and we got 4. So rejection is just something you have to be okay with, and you have to not lose your self-confidence and belief in the project, no matter what people say. But we got into Boston International Film Festival, which I have to say was like a dream for me. That one, I was like, you know, the rejections for some of the other ones, I was brushing them off. You know, after a while, they start to hurt because you're like, you've had 14 rejections and I just want to get the movie out in the world. But that one, I was like, it's my homecoming. I have always admired this festival, you know, and my community and the people who made this movie would be able to attend. That would be a really, really special first hurrah world premiere. And I knew I would, I was like, I knew that would have been something that I wouldn't have handled as well if it hadn't been aligned. But it was just such a dream, and I'm so grateful to be premiering there. And we premiere April 14th. So it's a really special time. Also, for those of you who don't know and aren't from New England, it's Boston Marathon weekend. So it's like, just like a world-known day.
Yeah.
And like Boston Marathon Monday is like a holiday, and you know, being from Massachusetts, there's so much like cultural and, you know, political significance, especially after the bombing and what happened. So it's just a really special day to be in town, and we're premiering the Sunday before, so like everyone's there, and a lot of my family too who aren't in New England anymore are coming up for it, or, you know, coming in for this screening. So it's very special. But I have to say too, just to all the filmmakers like facing rejection or not knowing where their film is gonna screen, like I've met so many filmmakers too who are such talented artists who are like, my film has never been accepted in a festival, and so after a year we just premiered it independently. And there are other ways to, you know, screen your film. And also, you know, there are potential, if it's a feature, potential distributors who will still be interested. Like I have to say, I've gotten some interest, and I'm, you know, waiting until we're further down the line, just because I would like to just see the reception at the festivals and see the audiences we connect with before making a final decision for distribution. But, you know, I think it's important not to lose hope, because so many people will tell you no, but all you need is one yes, you know?
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing. I think when you make especially when you make your first one, I remember making my first one, and it's a rush. Everything's a rush. You just want to write it. You have to get it out now. Like no matter what, it just needs to come out now. And so yes, and then the rejection is going to be a normal. It's you're not in the norm. It's your first film is going to get rejected. That's just a reality, and it's going to be rejected from everything that you feel like you should get into. And you just like you were saying, you just gotta understand that the purpose of a film festival is so that a group of people can showcase a bunch of films in an economical way. So which means that anybody technically can do it. And I always go back to this one piece of history. Impressionism wouldn't have happened if the guys who were the impressionistic painters, you know, Monet and everything, if they weren't like, fuck the galleries, we're going to put our own gallery showing by ourselves. That's essentially what they did, because they were rejected from all of the museums that they had submitted to. And a lot of artists prior to them, many of them had, you know, people had committed suicide over stuff like this. Yeah. But they were like, no, there are like 10 of us, or I don't remember how many, and we will just pull together our money and make our own noise and make our own following. And that is what happened. And as you know, Impressionism is here to stay and is part of our art history, and it is because they didn't give up on their vision. And that is how you have to be when it comes to films, because the thing is, we're all searching for audiences, and you can't, it's hard to predict what that might be. Distributors, same thing. They're going to go by what they know and what works, because it's business. And when you do business, it's all about risk. And you calculate risk by what has come before that has worked. So if you have something, an idea that is completely different, or just has never been done before, or whatever, or distributors just don't know what to do with it. And they literally don't. Like my film Ursley, they were so annoyed with it because it's a hybrid genre. So it's fantasy, it's comedy, it's thriller, it's got. Yeah, but so it's a bunch, but they were like, we're just going to sell it as a horror. I'm like, it's not a horror film, but that's how they know to do it. Like that's how it goes. And so, and you just got to put in your own work to do the marketing afterwards, because they have a product that they just don't know how to sell, even though it seems so obvious sometimes, like you're gonna run into this problem too. They're gonna just be like, well, there's like LGBTQ aspects. That was a comment on mine too. Oh, I don't know if people are ready to see stuff like that, and it's just like, dude, that's the issue. That's the thing. It's just like we make things mainstream. So why isn't that more mainstream? Because people are too scared to like put it out. So we have a new thing. You should be, I don't know. It's just all filmmakers out there should, if you really truly believe in your story, you gotta do the work, and you gotta put it out there, and you have to do the marketing, and don't take the rejection as the end all be all, because it's not.
I love that.
Yeah, I feel what you went through, because that's a common story. Same. My first feature, rejection after rejection. The second one, same. This second one's not as bad, but it was enough to. The distributors were like, we don't know what the fuck to do with this. I'm still doing my own marketing, and you're going to take your film on a tour and get it seen as well. So you know, based off of the audience, that there is an audience. There's an audience for all subject matters and films and everything. So you just
for sure. And I have to say too, I have had so many women, teens through adults in their 60s, and even my family member who's 85 be like, I really resonate with this. This is something I went through, or this is something my sister went through, or a friend went through, just like, because there are really big themes in the film, whether that be struggling with your mental health and struggling with your body image, and doing harmful things around that, or fighting with a best friend, drifting from a best friend, not knowing where you'll stand, and also discovering your identity and your sexuality. Like, these are Nat and Zoe, the two characters, are both going through really different experiences, and they don't really understand what the other is going through because they keep missing each other over the summer, and they're both going through hard times. And I think it just goes to show thematically that your close friend can be going through something and you have no idea unless they share with you. So that was a theme for me. Like, you never know what really someone is going through. And also for me as a cancer survivor, I had cancer when I was 4. I had stage 3 neuroblastoma, and quite frankly, doctors did not think I was going to make it. Like, my doctors said, this is something we've never seen before, to my family. Wow. And I ended up, and so I was treated in Boston, and thankfully it was, a miracle that I'm okay. But I believe that's like a testament to faith for my family and just God being on our side. But, I think I was really just like, that was a big pivotal thing for me because I had cancer when I was 4. I'm 26 now. And I struggled so much with my body image because of that, because I had this big scar that divided my stomach in half. It cut my stomach in half. And for a teen girl who's already insecure, it was not doing any favors. Like, it really wasn't. And I would never wear bikinis growing up. I wouldn't wear tight shirts because you could see the scar and see how it divided my stomach. And so I had seen many movies about cancer, but they were about going through treatment. Typically, they're adults. There wasn't anything about after the fact, like how cancer impacts your life. And there really wasn't anything about like teens, and I think teenhood, it's kind of really near and dear to my heart because it's like you're coming into yourself and growing, and you can be also really struggling with things in your family or things in school or with your friends. But it's also just such an awkward fucking time. Like, it's so awkward. Like, it really is. And so when you're struggling, and like for me, I was really struggling with my body image and, ended up developing an eating disorder. And that's like what the film is about because of having had cancer. And so I had never seen anything that was like, oh, well, you recover from cancer and it's great and everyone's telling you you're so strong. But what if like you don't feel strong? Like, what if like over a decade later, like you feel just like really insecure because of how something impacted your life? So, it makes me a little emotional because I feel like I'm coming to this like epiphany right now, but it was really important for me because I wanted to bring representation to screen that really hadn't been seen before, and something that was extremely special to me. And I'm really curious to see what you guys think of this, because I just feel like this was like very divine. Like, I'm very spiritual, not religious, but spiritual, and I believe in like signs from the universe. And I felt like I was meant to make this movie, and this was like such a confirmation that like I was. Basically, a character, Zoe, who's based on my experience as a cancer survivor, was incredibly like niche in the requirements of what I needed, because me and Mari, my writing partner, were really big on like casting authentically. We wanted to cast teens. We didn't want to cast adults play teens. We felt like that was just not what we wanted to do and creates potentially harmful representation. But Zoe's character, she is seen in sensitive lights. Like, she's seen in a bikini. She's seen, like in a sexual situation with a guy that is not great. So we handle everything very sensitively. And that was something that was important to me, especially as a woman. But the actor had to have a comfort level with being seen in intimate lights, and that was just a very big consideration. So finding someone who could fit that mold was a challenge, to say the least. And same with the male counterpart, who she's in a relationship with. But also the character had to be a rower because it was a rowing storyline. Zoe joins the crew team, and I had a friend, Clara, who is a rower, a rowing coach as well, come on as a safety and just logistics coordinator to make everything accurate and make everything safe and help me recruit teens to fill the boats. And Claire was like, Cat, you cannot have a non-rower be in a boat. Like, that's a safety no. And I was like, okay, because I didn't really know. I've never rowed a day in my life. I played volleyball, and I was just taking from my experience as a student athlete. But in high school, I knew so many young teens who had eating disorders because of the weight classes in rowing and because of how rigorous rowing is. So, and visually on the water, I was just like, rowing feels like the call. It doesn't feel like volleyball. So the actor had to be a rower, and also the character has a big scar across their stomach like mine. And that was written into the character. It's a pivotal experience in the movie, and, really why she is so uncomfortable in her body. And I was like, I'm going to have to special effects makeup it. Like, that's the only thing I'm going to be able to do. Because I didn't have a casting director. I was casting all, like, through backstage primarily, or like, you know, me and Mari did everything. So we were really doing this super scrappily and super independently. And I didn't even dream that I could be able to find someone who fit everything. And so I posted in my high school's rowing Facebook group, because there was like a Facebook group with the town next door to us in our town. And I was like, hey, I'm making a feature film. I'm an alumni of the school, and I'm looking for extras to help fill the boats or a lead. And I posted the backstage, and I got this email from who turned out to be my lead actor, Molly, and she said, hey, I saw your posting in the group and so many people sent it to me. I feel like this is really meant to be in a sign, because I had a tumor when I was 5 and I have the same scar as your character.
Gosh.
And I'm a rower, and I'm from the town next door to you growing
Wow.
up. And then we had these crazy alignments where her drama teacher was my drama teacher. Like, wild, all this stuff. So it was just so meant to be. And I reread this email too last week, and she was so sweet. She was like, I've never been in a film production before. I know this is a long shot, which it wasn't. I know this is a long shot. I'm a theater actor, but I feel like I'm meant to reach out to you. And she just sent a picture of her on stage. And so I was like, this is the girl. This is the girl I knew. And then, you know, I, of course, saw her tape. And her tape, she was so expressive, and it really, you know, blew me away. And so I was like, this is just such a sign, because for me, as a person with a disability who really wants to be authentic, wants to have real representation in film, I was like, just so blown away. And it was really special, you know, to make that happen and to not have to special effects make a bit. Like it was something I didn't even dream could be possible, and the universe made it happen, and all the pieces were connected. And now for every future movie, I'm like, I'm not gonna compromise on these things, like, and I will hopefully get a casting director to help me cast to a wider net. But it just shows, like, you can cast authentically, and you don't need to cast someone without a disability, like to play a character in a wheelchair or something like that, you know?
Yeah.
I love serendipitous movie making experiences. I think those are the best stories, when the thing that you're like, there's no way that this could happen, and it's just like right in front of you. You're like, what? Yeah, I love moments like that, because it's just like a divine intervention, that almost like a sign. This is meant to be. I've had a few of those on film sets, and I will always remember those moments. So this is such a cool and special moment. What would you say, having gone through the experience and now you can look at your past retroactively, what would you say you learned the most from, or wish you could have done differently?
Oh, great. Those are two different questions,
Yes.
but I'll answer them both. Because I think there's so much I learned. I am so grateful, just as a preface, that I followed my dreams and intuition, and honestly did the harder, more risky thing by not going to film school and making a feature, because I learned so much. It was like the best film school I could have ever had. And you know, I used the same resources, and it ended up being cheaper than going to film school for 2 or 3 years to make the feature, you know, because we got grants and we did a crowdfunding campaign and etc. But it was also really freaking cool, because when you go to film school, typically for your MFA, you have to pick a specialization. So I would have gone in specializing as being a director. But I also knew I wanted to write. So typically you would direct a thesis film and collaborate with a writer, collaborate with a cinematographer, and it's more like a typical film set environment, which I totally get. But for me, I was like, I really want the chance to write and direct and try both of these out professionally. And so it was really cool to have so much creative autonomy and really be crafting a vision. And I always say, like, if you're a writer, I think you should give it a shot directing your own work, because, like, I think you can tell the best story because you know it. You're the creator of the subject material. So I'm grateful that I was able to do both. And to be honest, guys, I didn't want to produce the film. I just produced the film out of necessity.
Out of necessity. Yes,
Yeah.
that's how it goes. It's always out of necessity. I know. I get that. I understand.
Yeah, both of you guys are like, yeah. No, so it showed me, I like the creative producing, but it showed me the logistical and line producing. You know, I'm good at the logistical producing because I'm very business savvy. You know, my dad is an entrepreneur. My dad's in business. My mom is very, business savvy as well, and my family. But so I feel like I have those qualities and I'm entrepreneurial, but it was so freaking hard. And, you know, I was the director of a team of 110 people. And many of those people were volunteers because they were extras, filling a concert scene or filling the boats. But it was a big ass amount of responsibility to direct 110 people over the course of 21 days to plan all of that logistically. It was a fucking beast, honestly. It was such a thing. And so I feel like right out of college, it was the best experience I could have got to like handle that. But I don't think it's for everyone. And I've met so many people too who are like, oh, would you like go on to make a second movie? And I'm like, I already am. And they're like, what? Because like the rate of people who are first time filmmakers who make a second movie or want to make a second movie like just drops drastically. It really does. And there's studies into that. But I think that what was most challenging, to answer your second question, was the line producing, because I would get home from set, it would be late, and I would have to like do all the payroll for everyone. And, we had one of our PAs like abruptly quit because they got a better opportunity like on a huge film. And it's like, I totally understand that. But then for me as a director, it's like, oh, well, now maybe I have to get the lunch. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. And so and I also always say this, make your first movie with your community. Make something at home, because those people will pull through for you. And especially, in Massachusetts, where there's a budding indie scene and a lot of blockbusters filmed there, but it's not a typical film industry. It's not in LA where everyone's in the industry. So making a movie is still flashy and cool over there. So I have to say, like, I'm so grateful. I worked at this restaurant in high school and on my gap year, and they ended up catering the production, and they gave me a nice discount because I was a former employee, and they lent us their location. So it's the restaurant in the movie to shoot for 3 days for free. In the film when they were closed on Sundays. And so it was grateful. I was so grateful too, because like we ended up like just like paying a delivery driver from them to drive like a little bit further out of their range to deliver the food on that day. So it's like making your first or biggest project where you have connections and people who are really going to help you out or know you personally is going to get you so much farther than maybe going to a place you've never been before. So yeah, the logistical and line producing was so challenging. And, looking back on it now, I've been working on the film for almost 3 years this fall. And there's so many things I've learned. But what I've probably the biggest learning experience would be, you have to be so freaking passionate. Like, you have to really believe in yourself and really believe in the project, because even if it's a short film and it's 5 minutes, you could be working on that for over a year. Like, you seriously could be working on it, or you're bringing it to festivals for 2 years, or, it's a long process. And if you don't believe in yourself and you don't believe in the project and you're not 110% passionate in it, you can get deterred when people tell you no and you face that rejection, or you can get really deterred when you lose funding, or when people just abruptly quit, or just like things, film set chaos kind of starts to sink in. And so it's really just important to have that passion. And I think your original question was, what would I do differently? There's just so many things, so many things.
Girl, you are speaking my language. Everything. I'm like, yes, yep. I've had that happen. I've had that happen. Yes.
So many things, but I'm ultimately so proud of the film and so grateful. But I think what I probably would do differently is spending more time to find a line producer because that would have lifted a lot of pressure off me. But I think I was, this is just being really candid, and I'm really big on authenticity, but I was a little nervous because this was like my own personal finances. So like to bring on someone I didn't know to manage the most amount of money I had ever managed in my whole entire life by like a ton, that was a little scary. So I think I was like, because I'm not finding anyone, and because the people I were finding who were interested were a little sketchy and like were trying to take advantage of me as a young filmmaker and as a woman, I was like, fuck it, I'll just do it myself.
Jeez.
And I'm, no, like seriously, like some line producer who I was in initial chats to, they were like, I get this amount of percent, and it was like gonna be something really, really insane for a job that they were being paid to do, and it was
a
like
percentage of the budget.
Yeah, no, percentage of like net profits, like in the contract. And also,
wow.
Get and I will say, like, a lot of people are entitled to points, but like get a good lawyer who you trust. And I'm so grateful for my lawyer. She's like, I partner in this whole thing because, just immediately chatting with her, she's like, that's abnormal.
Yeah.
because I'm young, and because I started directing this project when I was 20, I started writing it when I was 23. I think a lot of people were like, oh, we see this girl and we, she's just kind of like right out of film school, and like, oh, we can take advantage of her maybe naivete and lack of experience. But it's like, just, you have to be careful who you trust, especially, and you want to work with good people and people who you call their references. That's another thing. Call everyone's references. And I won't say any more about that, but just call them. Yeah.
That's understandable. Yeah, there's a lot of bad eggs out there, especially for. Go ahead, Christine.
Oh no, I was gonna say the lawyer one is huge.
Yeah.
Because I feel like, especially when it comes to money, yours was, my first film was also all my money plus crowdfunding, but my second one had other people's money, and I think things don't get real until the lawyer's there. Like, people are quick to be like, okay, she has our best interest because she has a lawyer who's making sure that they're taking care of things legally or like in the correct way and stuff like that. And that's one of my big suggestions to people is, hey, get your lawyer in there as soon as possible, because when you get to, I don't know if it sounded like most of your funding was all yours, right? Did you have any external funding?
We really scrappily funded. So the majority of the funding was self-funded from the film school fund and what I saved, just working through college. But we did a crowdfunding campaign too, where we raised a little over $10,000 from almost 100 donors, which was amazing. And that's another like community thing too. So like really rallying your community behind a project. And I was really scared to crowdfund because I had done extensive volunteer work and fundraising in the past, but for, the American Cancer Society and for mental health organizations, I had never, fundraised anything for a creative project or a personal project, and I was nervous. But, it just shows too, people want to support you, and people want to, also who aren't in the creative industry, some people just really feel like, oh, I'm so happy that you asked me to be a part of this in some way. And, they contribute $25 and they are in the credits of a big feature film, and, eventually it gets distributed and they get to see it on a big screen in a theater. And they're like, or even I had a lot of friends be like extras in the movie, and it's just like really cool to involve your community like that. And then like I said earlier, I applied to so many grants. I probably applied to like over 60 grants, and we got 4. And I'm so grateful for these grants, because I'm not kidding, I ran out of funding when we were doing posts, and I was waiting for our biggest grant. It was $5,000, and that fully finished post for me, and I was like, oh, I can finish the movie.
Hell yeah.
But I have to say, all the grants were from the Massachusetts Cultural Council, and that's where I'm from. That's where we made the movie, and they were amazing. We got 3 grants from towns that we filmed in, and one of them was my hometown. And then the big $5,000 grant was a COVID relief grant. So that was not like tied to any sort of project. Like the 3 grants from the individual towns were tied to Growing Pains, but the COVID relief grant was like $5,000 for artists in Massachusetts, and you could, use it towards anything. You could use it towards your rent, towards your business, whatever. But I was like, I need it for the film, And at that point in 2023, I had a day job working back at VMware, doing social media work. So I had my day job, and I was finishing the film independently when we were in post. And it was just really great to have that final push to be able to finish the film. And that also, I have to say one more thing too. There's so many grants out there, but there's not as many for narrative features, because the people who are making narrative features, I think more typically are like these studios or blockbusters. Like they have funding behind them. There's so many indie filmmakers who are making features, but like unless it's a doc, there's not as many opportunities for funding. So that was hard, and there's a lot more opportunities for short film narrative funding. So I will say to anyone looking for grants, look in your home state, because states have grant funding like cultural councils, and those are like the state wanting to support local artists and wanting to support local projects, and you're going to be so much more likely to get a grant like that than to get a grant that's open to the whole world and 10,000 people are like applying for it. And some of those grants too are the same amount of money. Like some of them are like $5,000, and I bet I was competing with way less people for the artist grant than I was for other grants I applied to, like the diversity initiative in the beginning.
Right.
So just being scrappy and resourceful. And also, I had a mentor, Izzy Stevens. She runs Indie Spunk, actually, on the panel you were on.
I remember, yes.
She's great. Yeah, she's great. But she'll always say, like, you can make films for no budget. You can make these things. Like, you don't need to have a crazy budget to do things. And while it helps and gives you more resources, like, you can make things on a smaller scale. And if I had the budget, I would have shot on anamorphics and stuff like that. But you do what you can. And like I said, we got a lot of free locations. Like we filmed at my dad's house, which used to be my grandparents' house. We filmed at my friend's house, who was my script supervisor, that restaurant, and a lot of discounted locations, just because I'm like, hey, I'm a Northeastern alum. We're making this movie locally. Like, we're making it with women from Women in Film and Northeastern. Like, here's the little promo video we made. Like, are you interested? Or, So you can get away with too, just like people who are willing to help you if they believe in you and the project.
How much did you end up, do you think? You can do cash-wise and in-kind. What do you think you ended up budget-wise? I'm always curious. So
yeah, I feel like I never really love to disclose, just because I'm like, it's always touchy talking about money. But I will say, and I do say, it's roughly a year and a half of film school from that. So I feel like that kind of gives you a ballpark. You can do the math.
That's fair. Yeah. My first film was I raised $30,000 from crowdfunding, but this was also when crowdfunding just started. So
that's amazing.
And that was what we used it for. But unemployment. Your experience is basically my film school. It's the same thing. I didn't go to film school either. It was also made a feature. Same thing. First came out of school and was like, I'm making this. I didn't know what the fuck a feature was. I don't think I didn't even make hadn't even made a short at that point. I read Rebel Without a Crew and was like, yeah, if Robert Rodriguez can make a feature for $7,000, I can too. And so that is exactly, I think your suggestion of making a film by community is huge. I credit that my success in terms of career-wise to that. I've made a lot of films in Austin, Texas, and Louisiana, Shreveport specifically, because of community and how far you can go with community. And I plan to make my next films in Louisiana as well because of access. Because I'm at that point where I don't even know how people make films in LA at all. Because like it's just so inundated, and every single person just is like everything costs money because everybody's there's a Marvel film that's going to shoot there next week, probably, you know, type thing. So it's no longer exciting, you know, and so, but yeah, in Shreveport, in Massachusetts, these are probably places where you're like, oh yeah, my friend's cousin's dad is the chief of whatever. Yeah, we can get that street shut down. Like, let me do this. Yeah, the phone tree, you know, like that's just like, I 100%.
Also, Louisiana, Massachusetts, you get that tax incentive.
Yes.
Tax incentive.
Yes. That's why I did in Louisiana. I got that 40%. Huge. 40%.
Okay.
Yeah, dude.
So Massachusetts is 25% back. I'm still waiting on getting that money back, but that is huge money.
Huge money.
Huge money. Yes. And that's, that's
my marketing. Basically,
like
that's what I've been doing with marketing. Yeah,
deliverable costs, lawyer costs, etc.
Yes.
So huge money back. So I really recommend if you're making a feature and you're in a place like Massachusetts, or you're in a place that offers a tax incentive, like be really strategic about making anything, because you can like financially and like community wise make something so much more feasible, make something so much better in a place where you have resources. And I'm new to LA. I moved here a little over a year ago, and
a year as well.
Oh my god, cool! I didn't know that.
Yeah.
What about you, Adam? Are you in LA?
No, he's in Austin.
Yeah.
Cool. Wait, I love that. Yeah, because doesn't Texas have the tax incentive too?
Yeah,
totally.
25. Well, 20 to 25. Right. Yeah, it goes up and down.
40% is so good, and that's actually, I have a love for Australia. I used to live over there, and I see myself going back there and hoping to make a movie there. But Australia is where I want to make a movie because it's 40% tax incentive, and if you're coming with a USD dollar, translating that to the AUD dollar, like, it's just smart. You gotta think of things as a producer.
Agreed. You have to make movies like a business person. That's the thing. Yes, a lot more. So that you have the luxury to be creative later. Because if you don't have your ducks in a row from a financial standpoint, you guys just gotta know how to stretch a dollar. Like make $1 look like $5. Like that's just how it goes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So. That's like, back to the community thing. I really want to like shout out all the people that helped us. Like the rental house, Rural Boston, they gave us like great rental deals, through Women in Film New England. Like I was a member, and so they had a great rental deal with them. But even like they were just like, I believe in what you're doing, and I'm going to help you out by giving you an extra day free. And like, it's different because Rural Boston is supporting major blockbuster projects, like because Massachusetts is a huge place for filming both indie and, Hollywood movies, like a big Hollywood productions like Don't Look Up or American Hustle film in Massachusetts. Like there's a lot of local talent too, with the Wahlbergs and the Afflecks and stuff like that. So it's a special place, and a lot of movies are being made there. And it was cool, to get that support and be like, we're a scrappy little indie film, and we're getting like resources. And, also like we shot at St. Mark's School, which was the school that my rowing safety and logistics coordinator, Clara, used to work at as a rowing coach. So that's how we got the school. It was probably the most expensive location in crazy expensive for insurance. But it was great to like have that because I needed a school with like a bunch of ergs, and my hometown school had a rowing program, but they didn't have like a room with ergs. So you had to like find like the room with ergs had mirrors behind all around, so we couldn't film there. Like there's a lot of like places that we could film, but we couldn't because of like other reasons. So we were kind of using all our resources, and St. Mark's had a boathouse on a lake in Shrewsbury, Massachusetts, and that's like how we had access to all the boats and stuff. And I think because it has this rowing storyline, people might look at it and be like, wow, this is like a bigger budget or a bigger thing.
Yeah.
But it's really not. It's really not.
The things you do when you don't know any better. Yeah. I mean, like after shooting my first one, I was like, which I had the same things. I had lots of people, lots of locations that I water. These are all the like the don'ts, basically. Everybody's like, why the fuck did you say? It was all that. It's all the don'ts, and I didn't know any better. Yeah, it's the same thing.
I think I knew it was gonna be hard. Like I knew that, but I was just really tied to the story. And I just I think it's kind of, you have to be a little delusional sometimes, believing in yourself. No, I'm serious. I don't like that.
It's true.
I don't like that
true.
word. I don't like that word, and I think that can be misrepresented. But I think you do have to be a little delusional when you're making anything. Is like, you know, so many people, like I said earlier, like we're like, are you sure about this? Or I don't understand what you're doing. Or so many people thought it was a short film, or think the two characters are gay, or think it's really, you know, really cutesy and about like friendship. Yay! Like it's like so the film was misinterpreted in so many ways until we show the trailer, until we drop the poster. Like I just think a lot of people, you know, when you're making things and you're early on in your career or even mid-career, like, and still gaining that traction, like maybe they don't understand what you're doing, but that shouldn't detract away from your own belief in yourself, you know?
Agreed. Yeah. And this is a good landing point for a summary, but I think the biggest thing is like it's faith, blind faith. You just have to really believe, because it's not just with all the convincing all the people around you who have nothing to do with the project, who don't understand it, but it's also just leading your team when it's hard. It's going to be hard. I mean, you probably experience this on your set of people being like, why didn't you raise more money? Like, it would be better if we had more money. Or like, yeah, I get it. Like, it would be great if we all had more days to shoot and more everything and more of that's any project. It's always better with more stuff. But and it's just you have to be first one in, last one out. And if you're not that, how are you going to convince other people who aren't tied to the story as personally as you to follow you during very hard times? It's easy to make people work when the conditions are met. You've got, you know, great food, you've got great accommodations, you have extensive time to do everything. It is hard to motivate people when you have none of that at all. You just have to. So yeah, your blind faith in yourself and your project, because yes, you're going to be on there for a while. Film by community, I think it's a huge one. Film by community. And then this kind of goes in the blind faith thing, is like, don't be deterred by rejection, because there is always going to be another way. I think those are the biggest key takeaways. Yes.
Totally. And people will believe in you. Finding people who believe in you and want to collaborate with you and help you bring out that vision is key, because you don't need to partner with the naysayer. Like, that's just going to make your job harder and probably make the film shittier.
Totally.
Agreed.
Totally.
Yes. Agreed.
Yeah, well, this was so fun. Thank you both for having me, and I just loved this conversation, and I love what both of you are doing. And like I said earlier, before the podcast started, it's just cool when you admire someone's work and they like reach out to you. That's like, you know, just the best thing. So thank you, Christine, for inviting me on.
I think what you you pinpointed at the beginning of the podcast is that like so much of us, we just like figured it out, like ourselves, just got thrown in and stuff like that. So I was the same way. I was on set and I didn't know any of the 10 ones and whatever jargon and all that stuff. And because we didn't go to film school. We made our own film school, and when you make your own film school, it's the wild, wild west out there. And so that's why we created Get Reelisms, so that, if anybody who wants to not go to film school and have an alternative option, but still be able to learn the things and stuff, that you could figure it out through this life.
Yeah. And on that note, we got to get out of here, ladies and gentlemen. But before we do, you know what it is. It's the getreelisms.com page. That's right. You pick up your book. You pick up your film school in a little neat book for your filmmaking needs. We appreciate you. Thank you so much for tuning in. And
Cat, thank you.
And thank you so much, Cat.
I really can't wait to watch your film when it comes out. So please let us know.
Me too.
It's available out there.
You both will. I don't know if we're premiering in Texas yet, but if
you are, I'll be there. I'll try to be there.
I'll let you know. No, seriously, I'll let you know. I have fingers crossed for a big place that might be in your city.
That would be awesome.
But we're definitely coming to LA, and I'll send you a ticket, Christine.
Yes, please. I would love to come and support. So we have to all support each other, because making a movie takes a village, and it takes a village to also bring it out to the world. So that's
right.
The best way to support indie filmmaking is, dude, just watch indie films. Like, it makes a difference. It really does. Like, the logarithm. Like, we don't have giant marketing companies that are like selling out, buying tickets to theaters and stuff. Yeah,
Not yet.
Not yet.
Yeah.
We need people like you guys out there to come and watch our films and tell people about it, and so that we can hopefully go talk to an investor and be like, look, people watched our film. Please support our next one, type thing. So
I love that. Well, thank you.
That's
both
just what
so
it is.
much. This was great.
Of course. And thank you. Yeah, thank you again to everybody who has been watching. Hopefully we'll be back next week. We'll see. I do have a gig coming up, so I don't know. But that's behind the scenes shit with Christine and I. So that's about it. Unless there's something else y'all want to say before we send it off.
I just saw a great comment from Kevin. I was debating about going to film school, but I've been teaching myself and working to do it myself. You can do it yourself.
Yes, do it yourself, Kevin.
Yeah.
Do it yourself.
Totally.
Yes. You've got all these people here have done it themselves. So, yes, do it yourself. Figure it out. Filmmaking by community, I think, is the strongest. Is the best, because you're going to find your team that way. And you're going to, those are the lasting relationships, and the great thing is, like, you can all screw up together and learn to do things a different way, and you're testing, I don't know, like, you're just figuring it out. And so that's the beauty of filmmaking and of art, is that there's no like right way, and so you might as well like learn together and find maybe there's a hidden way to do something that nobody has done it before. So find your team.
That's right, folks. And listen, this is still a free podcast. We're giving education for free, ladies and gentlemen. So get out there and make films.
Film school.
Yeah. But that's about it. Thank you so much, Facebook. Thank you so much, Instagram. We love you. Thank you for participating. And we will see you next time.